One of the goals for publication, and certainly not the only goal, is to find a job. And writing for looking for jobs is like writing for grants or any other sort of well-focused type of writing where you have to take into consideration the goals and values of your audience and reproduce those goals and values in your writing. So first, where to look for job ads, and we start with the job ads because you need to be able to clearly read what is the job ad say so that you can respond to it. And in the same way you might do for writing a grant, you would read what specifically the grant says and then write in response to it. So there's a few sources. The Chronicle of Higher Education and Inside Higher Education use a lot of jobs. Some of social media is very important. LinkedIn has become an important place for jobs. Attending conferences is one of the traditional ways that people have jobs. And I know in some fields a lot of jobs are first posted on discussion boards even before they're posted anywhere else. So the steps in writing for a job ad is first to do a kind of audience analysis where you analyze the job ads. You look for the academic requirements, course requirements for things they might want you to teach, the nature of the university. Is it a research university? Is it a teaching university? And sometimes you can tell that by how many courses you have to teach. The research university, usually you teach fewer courses. The teaching-oriented university, you usually teach more courses. But the point is, when you write your job ad, you have to tailor it to which of those types of universities it is. And then sometimes the limitations of the job, although most job ads, of course, try to sell the job. Often, it may be too many courses, or it may be in a place you don't want to live, and you have to be able to look at the limitations and your own limitations and be able to respond to them. The writing parts of the job usually consist of a cover letter and a curriculum vitae. And curriculum vitae is the term we often use for academic jobs. If you were looking for a job in a corporate setting, they often refer to them as resumes. And they have some similarities, but they're mostly different in the length and then obviously the kinds of information you would include in them. The cover letter should respond specifically to the goals of the job. And again, you can look on the internet, it has lots of samples of cover letters. Again, there's a difference between applying for an academic job, the cover letter tends to be longer. Applying for a business job, the cover letter tends to be very short. So you want to specifically respond to the goals of the job, acknowledge what the job is, where you found the job, and then you elaborate on key issues in your resume or curriculum vitae. Don't just repeat what you said in the vitae, but elaborate on how what you put in there would meet the requirements and the goals for the job. Discuss your background. Again, if you're a student, it's important to let them know what you're studying, and particularly if you haven't finished your dissertation, when your dissertation is. Overall, your letter should indicate what you're going to bring to the job, how it's going to benefit them from hiring you, and to try to establish some kind of relationship. When will you see them next, or how do you plan to follow up about the job? What, in some ways, try to connect with the people who are reading the paper. Now, remember, it's never clear who reads in terms of a committee what you write. So there is going to be a certain amount of redundancy. Don't worry about that. But again, try to don't just repeat your CV, but elaborate on your CV. The curriculum vitae is organized by modules that you can flip around. The key areas for you are your education, your teaching, your research, and the order of these will depend a lot on where you are in your career. Certainly early in your career, your education is very important. Later in your career, perhaps your teaching is going to be more important, or your research is going to be more important. So you might have specific sections on what publications you have, what conferences you've given presentation, what awards you've gotten, what skills you have, what are your language skills, what kinds of technology skills you might have. There's a variety of areas that you could include. Try to avoid things that give too much away about your personal life, your religion, for example, or any of those. Those are not legal in the United States for people to ask about, but if you bring them up, they could be discussed. Highlight the key achievements in each of these areas. What courses have you taught? What papers have you given? What research have you done? And use bullet points and verbs. You want to sound like you've done a lot of things. So don't write out in full sentences what you've done, but simply say researched this area or taught this course, those kinds of examples. So again, attending conferences are going to be fairly important in the job hunting process. Many universities do their interviewing or screening at conferences, although it's becoming more common to use things like Skype because of the expense. Sometimes you may have to go to a conference you normally wouldn't go to because depending on the relationship of the job to the overall department. But remember, if you're presenting at a conference, you may be being evaluated secretly for a job. Somebody may, even if they don't know you're applying for a job, they may remember you. So your conference presentation could be important in your job hunting process. So good luck. There's lots of rejections. You'll have to learn again. If you haven't faced rejection yet from the publication process, you're really going to face lots of rejections. So have a lot of options, have some backup plans, and keep trying.